Hi everyone. In today's lesson, we're going to continue going through factoring methods. Normally with the factoring flowchart, like we've been doing all along, we're going to always start with GCF. So if GCF is an option, we're going to take it out. And then if inside the parentheses you have four terms, we're going to do a concept called grouping. Now, we may use, dots or any other type of factoring that we've learned previously after grouping, but the flow chart is going to be try GCF first, then grouping. So grouping is for when we have four or more terms. So let's do a couple of examples. Okay, so here is example number 1. So we have x to the third plus 4x squared plus 9x plus 36. So we obviously have four terms here, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And the rule, or at least how grouping works, is that you want to group the first two terms together and group the second two terms together and then bring down the sign in the middle. And then once you do that, all you have to do is take out GCFs. So if you look at these first two terms, there's an x to the third and an x squared. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide out the GCF. And in this case, the GCF is the lowest exponent, so x squared. So we're going to divide both pieces by x squared. Now, you don't have to write this step of the dividing, but if it helps you, you absolutely can do it. So we have x squared, that's my GCF. So remember, that's how it works. We pull the GCF on the outside, followed by an open parenthesis. And now we're going to do our dividing. So x to the third divided by x squared. We keep the base and subtract the power, so we're left with 1x. And in the second term, the x squareds will cancel to 1, so 4 times 1 is just 4. And then don't forget the plus sign. Now in the second two terms, we want to find another GCF. So between 9x and 36, it appears we can divide them both by 9. So we write the 9 followed by an open parenthesis, and then we're going to divide each piece by 9. So in the first set, the 9's cancel to 1. 1 times x is just x. We're going to bring down the plus sign, and then we're going to do 36 divided by 9, which is 4. Now, if you remember from yesterday, we can take out another GCF. It just so happens that this x plus 4 is in common. So we're going to take out the x plus 4, followed by an open parenthesis, and we're going to do our division. Again, you don't have to write this step, but what we're doing is we're dividing both pieces by x plus 4. So the x plus 4's cancel here, and we're left with x squared. We're going to bring down the plus sign in the middle, and then we're going to divide these two that cancel to 1. So 9 times 1 is just 9. So this is my final answer. Now, some of you may be recognizing this x squared plus 9, and you might be thinking that it's dots, but this is not dots because it is not a difference of two perfect squares. This is a sum of two squares. So just be very careful about that. All right, let's try another example. All right, take a minute, pause the video, and copy down this problem. When you're ready, hit resume, and we'll go over it. All right, so now we have, again, 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. So in the previous example, I really just showed you how grouping works. So now I want to go through that flow chart. So you always want to, with any problem, look for a GCF. Is there a greatest common factor that I can divide out of all of these terms? Well, I think so. I think the answer is 2. I could divide all of these numbers by 2. It's an even number. If you're not sure, remember you can use the calculator. You can hit math, scroll over to number, and you can go to option 9, which is GCD. So if you want to do that, take out your calculator and type in the GCD, and we're going to do 32, 18. Obviously, by doing so, you should get 2. Now remember, this GCD button in the calculator cannot do x's. So you actually have to look at your x's. We have x to the fourth, third, second, and first. So when you're taking out a GCF with letters, you always take the lowest exponent. So this exponent is 1. So I'm going to take that one out as well as the 2. So my GCF in this scenario is 2x. So I'm going to divide each of the pieces first by 2x. Now with a GCF, you pull it on the outside, followed by an open parenthesis, and then you do your division. So 32 divided by 2 is 16. X to the fourth divided by x to the first is x to the third. We subtract the powers. Now again, 32 divided by 2 is still 16. X squared this time, subtract the powers, 3 minus 1. Next term, 18 divided by 2 is 9. X squared divided by x, subtract the powers, you get 1x. And the last term, these x's will cancel to 1. So 18 divided by 2 is 9, and 9 times 1 is 9. So that is the step of just the GCF. So now we have to recognize that inside the parentheses, we've got 4 terms. So in here, we can factor this using grouping. So we're going to have this 2x on the outside. So I kind of want you to ignore it until the very end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight it in green so I don't forget about it. All right, so grouping. We're going to take our first 2 terms and we're going to group them. We're going to take our second 2 terms and we're going to bring down the sign in the middle. So the GCF between 16x to the third and 16x squared is obviously the 16. The lowest exponent is a squared. So we're going to take out a 16x squared out of both terms. Now again, you can write 16x squared underneath if it helps. You don't need to, but you can. So here the 16s are going to cancel to 1. X to the third divided by x squared. Subtract the powers, you just get x. Again, these 16s will cancel to 1. So then x squared divided by x squared also cancel to 1. So 1 times 1, you're left with 1. Be very careful here, guys. These don't just cancel out and go away. If anything is divided by itself, it divides out to 1. Okay, now the right side. The GCF between negative 9x and negative 9 is simply negative 9. Now you want to be careful. If there's a negative sign here, that goes with your GCF. So we're actually going to take out a negative 9. So when you're doing your division, you're dividing by negative 9. So here, negative 9x divided by negative 9, well, these 9's will cancel, the negative 9's, and you're left with x. But the second term, negative 9 divided by negative 9, is actually a positive 9. So what's very interesting about this one is that the sign here is going to be different here. Normally you're used to bringing the sign down, so be very careful. If there's a minus sign, you're actually dividing by a negative 9. So now my GCF between these terms are my x plus 1 here and my x plus 1 here. So that's my GCF that I'm going to write on the outside, followed by an open parenthesis. And again, you don't have to write this step, but we're going to divide each piece by x plus 1 and cancel them. Remember, they cancel to 1. So we're left with 16x squared times 1, which is just 16x squared. And then 9 times 1, which is just 9, or in this case, negative 9. Now don't forget this original GCF that we took out in the first place, so that's 2x. And then I do see a little bit more factoring here, people. 16x squared minus 9 is actually a difference of 2 perfect squares. So this can actually be broken down more into dots. So 16x squared, the square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of x squared is 4x, so that goes in the first parenthesis. Then 9, the square root of 9 is 3, so that goes here and here, with a plus and a minus, and then we just bring everything else down, and that is our final answer.